Hello RageQuitters, welcome back to another monitor review. My name is TerminatorUK and today we have here the BenQ XL2730Z. So this monitor came out earlier on this year. It's not an absolutely brand new monitor. From my other reviews you probably see that I've gone through a few monitors within the last 12 months and for your benefit you've had quite a few reviews from this one. This might be the end of a string of reviews because this monitor, in a word, is excellent. So the monitor is basically a 27-inch 1440p, so it's 2560 by 1440p resolution. It's 144 Hz, and it actually, surprisingly, uses a TM panel, and you would not actually tell that it actually uses a TM panel. Doesn't do this screen any justice at all. So unlike most other panels which use what we call a 6-bit colour depth panel and frame rate control to produce the colours on screen, this is a true 8-bit depth native resolution on this native colour palette on this monitor, and boy does it make a big difference to this screen. From the other video reviews, you know that I'm a very big stickler for colour. In fact, I much prefer an IPS panel or even like a VA, a vertical alignment panel, over a TM panel, because in my past experience with the ones I've had, I just cannot get on with TM panels very well. I always find the colours are very washed out and contrast is just not there at all, and it makes the experience not enjoyable. But this BenQ monitor definitely breaks the mould. If you've ever had an XL series monitor in the past before and you've been disappointed with the colours, then you've got to check this monitor out. It is phenomenal. You wouldn't really be able to tell very much that it isn't an IPS screen, bar the fact that the viewing angles are slightly more limited, and you get a slight contrast shift between the top of the monitor, which tends to be a bit darker, and the bottom of the monitor, which tends to be a bit lighter. But except for those two things, everything about this monitor is superb. It's rated for a 1 millisecond grey to grey response time, so all of the transitions are extremely fast and fluid. If you've seen my previous video reviews, we had a look at the Asus MG279Q. One of my complaints with it was the size of the monitor. A big real estate on that monitor, and because it only had a 4 millisecond grey to grey response time, which doesn't sound that much different, I always found that it was on a screen of that size, it was just too much to take in, and you couldn't really concentrate with a monitor of that size and that kind of response time. This really breaks the mould because the response time is just that fast. I find that even on a very large screen on a limited desk space, that you can definitely cope with a 27-inch monitor. So it does actually make an entry into a larger screen with a 1440p resolution viable in my eyes, as before with an IPS screen that was slightly slower. It didn't. What else can we say about the monitor? So as well as the great specs of the monitor being 144 Hz, the other thing is there's another AMD FreeSync monitor, and it's got a very good FreeSync range. If you remember from the previous review of the Asus screen, it had a limited 35 Hz to 90 Hz, so the top end particularly was capped, and it never felt that good to use. This one doesn't have any of those limitations. Slightly higher on the lower end, it goes from 40 Hz, but right up to the top of 144 Hz, and it is incredibly smooth to game with. Very, very responsive. The other thing that is phenomenal about this monitor and all of the BenQ XL series is the input lag is absolutely perfect. I've never felt a screen that you feel so connected with, and everything that you do and you play is completely down to you as a gamer. Nothing to do with the hardware gets in your way. So definitely FreeSync is the selling point of this monitor. It also does have a native built-in blur reduction mode. You need to be a bit careful when using the blur reduction, particularly from the XL series, because you do get quite a big hit in terms of the brightness on the screen. and you also can't use FreeSync at the same time as you're using blur reduction, so it's kind of one or the other. And for me, I think that the FreeSync functionality wins out over the blur reduction. One thing I would say about the blur reduction is it's been implemented pretty well. You don't see some of the crosstalk in the corners that I was used to with like an ISO Forest FG2421 screen. You used to get kind of like shadows towards the bottom right hand corner. I didn't really see any of that in game, which is really good news. The other thing as well is it's not, in terms of brightness in the blur reduction mode, it's not quite as good as the ISO Forest was. However, it is a lot brighter than the previous series in the XL range, so definitely worth checking that out if you're interested in the blur reduction mode. So for the next part of the review, I just want to talk a bit about the ergonomics of the monitor. As you can see, a bit like the Asus screen, we've got a tremendous amount of real estate. The size of the monitor coupled with the resolution means that we can cram an awful lot on the desktop, which is a wonderful thing. Now, one of the things I've always loved about the XL series is the monitor, although it's a bit understated in terms of its looks, is very well built and robust. Has an excellent range of adjustments. So you've got a full range of height, swivel, and also pivot adjustments. So that is excellent in terms of your calibration of this monitor. And you have also got something called, I think it's called an S-Arc, this little remote. I haven't got it installed at the moment, but it's like a little puck that sits in this well at the bottom. And basically what that does is you can use that to navigate through the on-screen menu that you'd normally use with these buttons down the side. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buttons down the right-hand side which handles all the menus. So let's just have a quick look at the inputs. So if I turn the screen over to the camera and rotate it up, hopefully you should be able to see. We've got a USB 3.0 uplink port, obviously quite useful for the extra USB ports that are on the side of the monitor. Got a VGA port, pointless, I really hope they stop implementing those. The mandatory display port, which you'll need for FreeSync mode, 2 HDMI ports, one of which is a HDMI 2.0 port, a DVI port, and also there is a, I think these ports are for the integrated speakers on the monitor. As with all monitors, I've never used integrated speakers just because the sound quality is so bad. And always my favourite, an integrated power supply on the monitor, so you don't need any external power brick. If I just turn the monitor around slightly, what you should be able to see here is on the back we've got a useful robust carrying handle, useful for when you're taking it to a LAN party, and a simple cable management system on the back here. Is just like a hole in the base of the stand with like a red ring on the outside of it. Yeah, it's perfectly functional, and it's good for routing your cables out the back. So in terms of the monitor overall, it's very, very good in terms of ergonomics. A couple of other points. Nice heavy metal base on the stand, really, really keeps the monitor in place. On the left hand side we've got a couple of USB 3.0 ports which are really useful. Headphone and microphone ports, again I wouldn't really recommend using those because you'd probably pick up some noise from the monitor as it goes through. Better just to put directly into your tower. And another quite handy thing, you've got this headset hook on the left hand side which just pops out like that, and basically you can get your headphones, and when you're finished with them just pop them on the side like that. Quite useful. Nice little touch for the monitor. I'll just pop that back in like that. A couple of other things. You've got some red arrows on certain points of the monitor. There's one there, and I believe there is one. It's like a ruler system on the right hand side. The idea behind this is that at any time you can calibrate it and adjust it exactly how you want it to be. And if you need to move it like to a LAN or another friend's house or something, you can set up your monitor exactly how you'd expect it to go. And therefore, you know, when you've got used to certain adjustments, then you've always got those available to you at any time. Okay, just before we move on to some of the game tests, if you're like me, you want to obviously use your monitor for some other times other than games. Yeah, I know that's crazy, but occasionally we do like to use our monitor for browsing the web and watching movies and even, dare I say it, doing some work. So this monitor does do very well on that. As you can see, tremendous amount of real estate. Very, very smooth when using browsers. But you may be able to see, might not pick up on the camera. This is probably a good example of what I was saying about the gamma is slightly darker towards the top than the bottom. If you look down this page of text here, you can see that the text here at the top is quite good contrast, black and white here, but towards the bottom it's starting to get paler and more washed out. And again, if you look at these grey bars on the slight left and right of the website, you can see that it's lighter at the bottom here and then darker at the top. I'm being picky. That is probably the biggest complaint I've got about the monitor, and it's not a massive complaint. And you can start to see this is how good the monitor really is. It was built for gaming primarily, but it still does pretty well with other day-to-day tasks. So it is useful like that. The other thing I just want to show is you've got 5 buttons here on the right hand side. These access all the menus. So you've got things like the BenQ Black Equalizer, which is used to enhance the contrast in black areas. I don't really like it because it gives you quite a washed out look, but if you're ultra competitive and you like things like that, then that might be your bag. You've got the blur reduction, you've got on and off. I'll just turn that on a minute. The monitor just takes a second to adjust, and you can see there's a noticeable drop in the brightness when you've got a blur reduction. So what I would recommend is, if you're going to do that, is to go into the picture settings and then put the brightness up to 100%. I'll just show it 100%. So that is as bright as the monitor will go with the blur reduction mode on, which in comparison to the older screens is it's a pretty good range actually, to be honest. It's not bad. It's not quite as really dark as the other monitors used to be. Picture mode, the first thing you want to do with this monitor is put it into standard mode. It comes out with an incredibly washed out FPS 1 profile. I can't see that anyone would ever want to use that, so that's the first thing you want to do. You've also got contrast control, sharpness, gamma. Gamma is a great feature in a monitor. Although you can use ICM profiles to improve the screen in terms of its colour reproduction in certain circumstances, it's not perfect, and you can't. Not every game will actually honour those profiles. So to have it actually in the monitor itself is very, very beneficial. In this case, I found the Gamma 5 gives you really good depth in your picture, so that's what I went with. Colour temperature, AMA is basically the overdrive function. I'm pleased to say that unlike the previous AOC monitor review that I did, overdrive works perfectly on this monitor in conjunction with FreeSync, so you haven't got any problems. Used to be a problem on this monitor with the original Generation 1 firmware. If you're interested, I'll just show you how you can actually check your firmware. If you hold the second button up before you hit your power button and press that down and then release it, when you go back into the settings, what you'll find is you'll come up with a service page, and the thing that we're interested here is the firmware version. So on this it says V002. I know that I've got the upgraded firmware. The original firmware had a bug with it which meant that the monitor wouldn't work with the overdrive function at the same time as FreeSync, which detracted from the quality of the monitor. But BenQ did excellent customer service, recalled all the units and allowed people to a free upgrade, returning it back to them, and yeah, got it all sorted, and it's absolutely excellent as a result of that. I've just turned the screen off and back on so that we can get into the normal menu. Okay, what else have we got? Oh, under the game settings, one thing that you always want to do is have the... Oh, I'll just show you, when you've got the blur reduction on, you've also got an intensity setting. Intensity makes the blur reduction more effective, but as you can see, every time that you add to that, you're actually darkening the screen significantly. So the only viable option I've found is to put it right down to the bottom, which is number 1. And you've also got an area, so with blur reduction you've also got a problem with crosstalk, which means that sometimes you can get like a ghosted image, particularly at the edges of the screen. The area allows you to adjust where the best part of the picture is, and therefore that you can choose where the crosstalk is going to occur at. It's quite useful. It's nice for the user to be able to pick on that. The other mode that you always want to have on is instant mode, so that reduces the input lag. You know, that's one of my pet hates, and it's great to have a mode from BenQ which reduces that even further. Okay, as is traditional with our reviews, we'll start off with a bit of Titanfall. Always like to use Titanfall to do reviews because it's such a very, very fast-paced game. It picks up the weakness of monitors very quickly if there's anything wrong with it. Immediately, hopefully you'll be able to see this through the camera, immediately amazing colours for a TN screen. You would swear this is an IPS panel. Absolutely excellent. Really, really good. The it doesn't sacrifice anything in terms of colour performance or contrast. It's absolutely stunning. As I said before, the input lag is just brilliant on this monitor. I just feel so connected to it. You know, when I normally whinge on about input lag, I do wonder, is it me? Am I the one? Is it in my head? But no, for me, it just makes a massive difference when you don't have any input lag. I mean, look at that. Any other day, and I would have been shot. I would just turn around, pistol him in the head, boom. No rage quitting here today. So I'm very, very happy with this monitor. The response time is just amazing on this monitor. If you remember from the Asus screen, I was talking about that the real estate was too big for the monitor, and it was just too much to concentrate on. But this monitor is equally as big. But you just there's something about the response time that just makes it so it's just workable. You don't feel in any way that it's too much to handle, which is just absolutely amazing. Such a big difference. And any sort of weakness that you may have seen in usage with practical applications is just completely and utterly missed in, sorry, trying to concentrate. It's just completely and utterly redeemed in games. It's just so good to work with. I absolutely love it. Really, really good monitor. The FreeSync makes it incredibly smooth to work with, as I say. You don't have any of the input lag that's associated with it. It works completely up to its rated spec, so you're not sacrificing anything. I just can't sing its praises enough. In fact, the monitor is so good that unfortunately it probably means that it's going to have a bit of a dry spell in terms of the reviews from me on RageQuitters. I just got absolutely no complaints with it at all. It's one of those screens that you just get and you just game on. You know, you haven't got anything to complain about. There's nothing much to configure. It's phenomenal. Uh-oh, I have to eject. Eject. We're out. I mean, if you remember from my previous review, I mean, it might be that it's just a different class of players in this particular match, but you can immediately see them just so much more comfortable and in the zone just because of the improvements in this monitor. Just for reference as well, this screen was originally quite expensive in the UK. It still is quite expensive, but it was ludicrously expensive before. You had, when I was reviewing the Asus screen, this screen was £500, which is it's a lot for this monitor. And the Asus screen was actually cheaper at the time. It was about £479, I think it was. But as reviewed, I picked this monitor up from Overclockers UK, and I got it for £389. Now, it's not cheap for a monitor, but it is an absolute bargain for what you're getting. It really is a fantastic monitor for the price, so well worth getting. See if we can change our loadout. Let's do a bit of sniping. See if we can get anyone. Boom. Oh, no, got me. Do a bit of Titan action. So going down. Come on. Boom. Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know what it is. There's one thing I would say about this monitor so far is in every game I've played, my sniping's been a bit off, and I don't really know why at the moment. It might just be an adjustment to the screen size at the moment, but a little bit hard to describe. When I was sniping back then, I was a little bit off, and when I was playing PlanetSide 2 the other day, I wasn't quite on the mark, but I think that's just down to real estate. Another thing I would say, the input lag is, as I say, absolutely phenomenal, but if you have a look at the review on TFT Central of this monitor, one thing they did show was at, I think it was 60 Hz, that the monitor did actually exhibit a frame or two of input lag, about, I think it was about 15 or 16 milliseconds or so. So yeah, that's not good. And whilst I don't really feel it that much because of the high resolution on this screen. You've got a chance of if your frame rate dropping down. That was a bit, chuggy then when there was a lot of explosions and stuff going off. And one thing I've found is when the frame rate drops towards about 60 frames per second, it does feel like the input lag increases slightly, but I don't know, I'm not sure if that's all in my head. When the frame rates are really high, then you just don't get absolutely any at all. In fact, it's probably the best in terms of input lag I've ever seen. Okay, let's go on to Battlefield 4 as our next game review. Okay, so for our next game review, we are going to have a look at Battlefield 4. FreeSync is just absolutely excellent with the Battlefield series. That technology was just absolutely made for this game. Makes a huge difference overall to the smoothness. Graphically, it just looks absolutely superb on this screen. Very nice to play. Again, input lag is just absolutely on the floor. It's just lovely to play with. Very natural indeed. Let's not forget to revive our teammates. Oh, come on. Can't see a thing. Move up a bit. Okay then, just to summarise the video, I had to rage quit out of Battlefield 4, I was just getting too pwned. Nothing to do with the monitor though, that was purely down to me, I was just having a really bad day. You'll have to believe me that last night I did really well, and I wish I could have shown that on video, but it wasn't meant to be. So to summarise, I think, in my personal opinion at the moment, for a gaming monitor, if you want something that isn't just a gaming monitor but you can use it for all uses, but is absolutely awesome in gaming. I don't think on the AMD side you can get very much better than this monitor. I think it is the best monitor you can get for the money at the moment. I'm truly blown away. The colours on this have just completely exceeded my expectations. I knew it was a TN panel, I knew it was a good TN panel, but I was bracing myself that it was going to be a washed out mess again, maybe a little bit better. You know, at the expense of the gaming performance. But how wrong was I? It's really good. It isn't quite IPS. That definitely still has the edge, but it is very good. You know, you're looking at pretty much entry-level IPS quality colours on this screen. You're not sacrificing anything. It's a very good general purpose screen. Highly recommended. I think that the only screen that would even hold a candle to this, if it gets everything perfect, is the forthcoming Isoforus 27 FS2750, I think it is, and that might not even be available in the UK at the moment. I think that's going to be European only. So yeah, that monitor will have to be absolutely phenomenal. Apparently it's coming out in December, maybe January time, and I'll definitely be keeping an eye on TFT Central. I'm fairly sure that I may not even be attempting to get that monitor. I'm just that happy with this monitor. I think it is a phenomenal screen all around. I had those objections before about the real estate. I think with the response time of this monitor, the 1 millisecond grey to grey response, and actually with just a bit of adjustment, just pushing your monitor further down your desk a bit, I think it is definitely bearable. The 1440p just makes everything come to life and look so sharp and smooth, and it doesn't take that much of a frame rate hit over 1080p. I hope you've enjoyed watching this monitor review. I've been TerminatorUK. Thanks for watching.